to another brand new episode here on Sunnyside at Farms. Do you know what? Is this bloody series that I do that with every single time? And it's because it comes on the end, and I've said this before as well, it comes on the end of recording 2 episodes of 1950s Farm, and for whatever reason my brain just suddenly goes, So, yes. Anyway, as you can see, we are out today with the Case International, and we have got a new sprayer on a trial, so I'm just trying it out now. There is a reason why I'm interested in buying this sprayer. So I've just downloaded, I literally was looking for something else for the series and stumbled across this sprayer, and I was like, oh wow. I was thinking, with the Case that I've got, which is the one that we had on the farm, you know, that's the Berthoid. I can never say that bloody word. But this is the sprayer that we had, which is a much easier way for me to say it, apparently. Yeah, this is the sprayer that we had. So this is the combination that I started my sort of spraying career on. 28 metre sprayer. I know we've drilled the tram lines to 24 metres this year, but we'll just have to sort of kind of persevere with it this year. But yeah, I thought, hang on, I've got, oh, that's okay, we can get in up there, look. So I thought, well, I'll download it, I'll put it in, and we'll give it a go. We've got a little bit of fertilising to do, so you know, we've got a bit of work for it, and we can just then sort of try it out and see whether it's good enough to make the grade or not. Anyway, hope you're all well. My day not going too bad. As I say, this coming on the back of recording 2 episodes of 1950s, and I've also had to pop off this morning and do something as well. It's been a fairly busy morning actually. Started recording at probably about 4:30ish, and yeah, just sort of started recording, got those done, then had to pop out, and then on my pop out, I had to go to the doctor's to have well, depends on the results, but anywhere from every week to every usually about every 8 weeks. That's the maximum. You can't go beyond 8 weeks. I have to have my thumb stabbed, and then it gets put into this machine, and then we see how quickly my body can clot it and stop it from bleeding. And I mean, I gets there this morning. It's quite cold at the minute, and outside and everything. And I got there, and it's 2 lovely ladies that I go and see. So one does the stabbing, and the other one does the recording and the whatever. But I've sort of over the years I've got to know them. Not only on a professional level, if you like, as patient and nurse, but also on a sort of personal level. I've sort of kind of got to know them and what have you, and and I would consider them 2 friends, in the sense that I see them, however sort of far apart the gaps are between each test, and occasionally we exchange phone calls or text messages or whatever. Anyway, so I get it. So the test itself is for my warfarin. So I'm on warfarin. I'm on quite a high dosage of warfarin, and because the way that my heart is currently designed, it's designed to let blood in, and because it doesn't really have the strength to push it around my body, what it does is it comes in and then it sits in the one chamber that works. So the top right hand chamber of my heart is the only chamber that works. The rest of it's dead. So it's literally the only living part of my heart that's alive and, you know, working and what have you. The rest of my heart is dead, and it's been like that since the day I was born, and it's not really affected me until I've now got older and fatter and everything else, right? So you know, what happens is the blood goes into the chamber. As soon as the chamber is full, it then shuts off, so the heart then stops, and it builds and builds, and the pressure inside the heart builds and builds and builds and builds. As soon as the pressure has reached a certain point, there is a design somehow. I don't quite fully know how it works, but this is sort of like the basic of how it works. So the pressure then builds, and then what happens is as soon as the pressure has built, the chamber contracts, and then when it opens, it fires the blood up and around the body, and then the heart will beat then for you know, and this all happens within seconds. This is not, you know, obviously minutes or anything like that. This all happens within like a couple of seconds, and then it fires the blood around the body, and then what happens is that obviously then the routine, I suppose, gets repeated. You know, this gets repeated and continually repeated day in, day out. But when the blood is in the chamber and it's swirling, so the way again it's designed, I don't understand how they've done it, and nor do I really ask, 'cause I'm not really that bothered about it. In the sense that I think that if you fully understood the mechanics of what was going on, I think you'd worry about it, whereas I just sort of kind of like, they've given me a rough outline of what's going on and what I need to look out for, and beyond that I sort of kind of think I don't need to know anything else. It's not important. I need to know what to look out for, and I need to know, well, I know it's working because I'm sat here talking to you guys, so you know, clearly it's working on, you know, on a level. And while it's in the chamber and it's spinning in like a whirlpool, which is how it's designed like that to stop it from clotting. But within that sort of time period of my heart sort of stopped and the blood spinning, it still clots, and I've had quite a few blood clots. Hence the reason now why I'm on warfarin to try and stop that. I was on Claxane for quite a long time, but you can't use that long term, so they've put me on, as I say, quite a high dosage of warfarin, and it works. You know, the downside is that when I bleed, Jesus, do I bleed? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I mean, it's copious, you know. So you know, I sort of try not to, you know, obviously make myself bleed. Although the other day, I was outside and I can't remember what I was doing, but I leant over and got my hand caught in the rose bush, and the rose bush clearly didn't like my hand because it ripped it to shreds. It's just like, oh, okay. So I bled quite a bit from that, but yeah, otherwise I sort of try not to do anything that causes bleeding, and of course, you know, because this is the way life works, and it's kind of like life sense, you know, sense of humour. I suffer really badly from nosebleeds, and boy, when I have a nosebleed, do I have a nosebleed. Anyway, so I'm at the doctor's, right, and I'm sat in the chair, and the lady comes over to me, and she says, "You all right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "It's freezing today, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, it's quite cold out there, to be fair." And then she says, "I bet your thumb's cold." So I said, "Yeah, probably." I said, "My hands." She said, "Your hands are black." I said, "I know." I said, "It's because I'm cold." I said, like, you know, and that's, I said, like, you know, my feet are permanently black, even in the middle of summer, even with 5 layers of socks on, my feet are permanently black, cold and aching and hurting because they're so cold. I said, my hands, they just go cold, they just go black when it's really cold. I said, like, but you know, if I was to sort of sit indoors, shove the heating on, they'd go back to a fairly normal colour. So she was like, she goes, "Crikey," she goes, did it worry you? And I said, not really. I said, got used to it. I said, it used to worry me, you know. I said, like, because, you know, I said, it's not right, is it? I said, but, you know, now, you know, used to it, doesn't bother me. So she was like, she goes, oh, you know, that's good in a way. So I said, well, yeah, you know, I suppose. Anyway, so she's looking at my thumb, she stabs it, and absolutely nothing happened. Like, literally not even any blood to the surface of the, you know, the wound that she's just caused me by stabbing my thumb. So she goes, I'm sorry. So I said, what? She goes, I'm gonna have to do it. So I said, what you gonna have to do? She said, I'm gonna have to give your thumb a couple of pumps. I said, I beg your pardon. She said, I'm gonna have to give your thumb a couple of pumps. She said, don't get no dirty thoughts. And she proceeds. I'm sat there, and the other nurse is looking, and she goes, I bet you're enjoying that, aren't you? And I went, well, it's a bit weird, gotta be honest. I said, hey, I said, if it was further down, now I'd be enjoying it. And she went, naughty. I said, pfft. I said, what do you expect me to think? I said, this is what you're doing to me. I said, like, you know, I said, Jesus. Anyway, she sort of did it and then stabbed it again. And then, sure enough, we did indeed get we did indeed get some blood, because she'd sort of returned the colour to my thumb. So I did that, and while I was out doing that, I then had to go to QD, which for people that live in the UK, they'll know what QD is. For everyone else, it's like it's a shop that sells sort of a little bit of everything. A bit like a B&M, just some stuff's better quality and other stuff is nowhere near as good quality. It's a bit of a middle of the road shop, but if you're kind of needing something obscure, usually QD will have it in, but they didn't have it in what I was looking for, so it was a bit unfortunate. But while I was walking back, I had to walk past this garage that sells a few cars, and I saw a car that I really liked, and I was like, wow. As you know, my car's got quite a few issues at the moment, and I was sort of looking at it, and I was thinking, that is gorgeous, and I'm thinking, you know, it's only $7 grand. Thinking, you know, my car's sort of kind of worth that on the forecourt. I thought, you know, I could probably get $4 grand for it, you know, sort of Pi X. And then I've just got to find $2 grand from somewhere. That's going to be easy. I'll just, like, you know, put my hand in the air and magic it out, you know. But I thought, well, you know, we're looking at details at the minute. And then you kind of so I went in and spoke to the people, you know, at the garage, and you know, you know, we sort of left it on that I was going to make my mind up and then, you know, go for a test drive or whatever, if you know, that was what I ended up wanting to do. And I said to him, I said, I might have to take out a little tiny bit of finance. I said, I don't need much. I said, because I said, like, with the car and that is part exchange. I said, like, you know, I probably won't need it if the car can sort of knock it down by, you know, sort of half. I said, you know, I'll only need a little bit of finance. So he's like, okay. So he said, fair enough. So I said, but I said, I've already got finance, but I said, not on this car. I said, I own another car. I said, but that car I don't have. I don't drive that. I don't own, you know. I said, I own it, but I don't drive it. I said, I bought it for. I said, when I was with my ex, I said, I bought her a new car. I said, and that's got you know, finance on it. I said, and but she's got the car. I said, like, will that go against me? And he was like, he goes, well, yeah. He goes, I don't think you'll get finance on 2 cars. So I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. So I said, I'll do a nice deed for someone. I said, and it ends up screwing me. So he said, unfortunately, he said, that's what happens in the world. He said, nice people get screwed. He said, like, he said, what I would do is, he said, is ring up the finance people, send her car back, and then you'll get one. You'll get some on this. So it's like, you know, so I thought, oh, okay, fair enough. I thought, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get in touch with my ex. I'm going to, you know, sort of whatever. Well, that's nowhere near as easy. So I think, you know, she's obviously blocked me on the phone. She's obviously changed her email address. And every other, like, I've left voicemails, I've left text messages, emails, but they just get returned from Mail Demon. And yeah, so I'm thinking, yeah, this is the thanks you get for doing something nice for someone. I'm thinking, yeah, you remind me to never do this again. But yeah, so I was just like, always my bloody luck for something to turn up, because I don't want to get rid of my car, but I've always said if the right Volvo comes along, I will exchange it. And this is a Volvo that I've seen today. Excuse me. This is a Volvo that I've seen today, and it's honestly, it's absolutely bloody immaculate. Like, it's had one owner, full service history. So one owner from brand new, and as I say, full Volvo service history. He's done 50,000 miles, and as I say, £7,000 is a friggin' bargain. But it looks like I'm, probably going to have to miss out on it, unfortunately. But never mind. Anyway, back to today's episode. Even I've already had today's lesson. Don't do anything nice for anyone. It just costs you in the long run. And because not only have I taken out this car in finance for her, I'm paying the bloody finance and all. I may as well have just gone out and found a woman that I didn't like and bought her a car. Do you know what I mean? Like, probably would have got more luck getting in touch with her. But yeah, so anyway, as I say, we're back to today's episode, and as you can see, we're out in the field, we're spraying. I say this is the combination that I had in real life. So this was what we used to do our spraying with. So I had this for about 2 years, this case, and Berthoid, is it, or something, spray. I can never pronounce that right. So we had that combination for about 2 years, and then one day, boss man, I went to work, and he's like, "You're going spraying today?" So I was like, "Yeah, fair enough." And he said, like, because I obviously I have so people are dyslexic, and then the people that sort of have the same issues with numbers have dyscalculia, which is where I don't understand. So I can read numbers, and I can understand individual numbers, but I then can't, for whatever reason, put them numbers like together. So I can't add them together or take them away, times them, divide them, whatever. I can read individual numbers, like, sort of, for example, today's temperature on the game is 19 degrees, so, and then below that, a high of 19, a low of 8, right? And like November 1 and year 3, I can read numbers like that. But if I was to start sort of trying to, do anything with those numbers and combining them and putting them together, either adding them or taking them, my brain just shuts down. It just literally shuts down. So what used to happen was, because I was sprayman on the farm, I would get to work in the morning, and then he would say, like, "You're going spraying today, no problem." I would then go into the spray store. So we had a drive-in spray store that was fully bunded and fully whatever. I would drive into there, and then I would be able to fill my spray, you see. And when I get out, I go to the table, and on the table he would have the fields that I was doing, and then next to it the amount of chemical that I would need, the amount of water that I would need, the amount of whatever, and then the total amount that I would need for the field. So say if we had one field that took I think it was 2.5 tanks. So next to one working out, he'd put ×2, which means you need to do this twice. And then next to that, he'd put a little line, and then it would put, like, for the sort of, half or quarter that I would need then to finish the field. He would then put the workings out there, and I would literally, and he would just say, you need this much water with this much chemical. And that was how we did it, and he was fine with that, and I was fine with that, because it sort of he sort of said, for me to do 10 minutes of working out in the evening ready for the morning you know, is nothing, because he said, like, I've been spraying all these years and I don't like spraying it. You know, he said, like, it makes me feel ill, it does this. He said, so he said, either way I'd have to work it out if I was spraying, or, like, he said, and the fact that he said, like, you go, you get on with it, it doesn't seem to affect you, which it did. It used to give me a headache, but I never used to let on, because you know, I just enjoyed the job. I enjoyed spraying, you know. So that's how we used to do it. And so we had this combination. And then one day, boss man said, "Oh," he said, "you're going spraying today?" So I said, "Yep, no problem," which I knew anyway, because we were sort of in the middle of a spraying program. He said, "But you're not using ours." So I said, "Oh no." He said, "No." He said, "I need you to do something for me." So I said, "Right." He said, "I need you to go to Pinchbeck." So I said, "Right." He said, "To this farm." So I said, "Yeah." He said, "And they've got a sprayer, and we're borrowing it for a couple of days." So I said, "Right." So he said, and then he said, like, obviously you bring it back and then use it. He said, and then if we get on well with it, if you like it and that, we'll buy it. So I said, right. I said, obviously they're going to show me how to use it then. So he said, oh yeah. He said, like, don't worry about none of that. So, right, okay, fair enough. And yeah, that was what we did. And he rang a taxi for me. I mean, this is how nuts this farm was. He rang a taxi for me. The taxi took me to Pinchbeck, dropped me off at this farm, and then kind of like the person that had been using it gave me a demonstration and different things, and sort of basically showed me very quickly, because I mean obviously he was very busy and had to get on, and so he like literally ran through it, and I was like, I'm not going to remember any of this. It's just like, but to be fair, Batemans actually are fairly fairly easy to use. Like they're very well designed, and it didn't take too much. I got a feeling I might be spraying this bit twice. I couldn't remember which end of the field I started. But anyway, and to be fair, actually, I sort of got halfway around there and then couldn't remember which field I was actually in, let alone which end I started. But anyway, we'll spray it. They've all got to be sprayed again in the spring, so it's no problem. Sometimes in the autumn you would put a little bit of fertiliser on. You'd put like a weak mix of fertiliser on, just to get it away from the ground, mainly to stop pigeon damage. And I know Farmington doesn't have pigeon damage, but I like to sort of try and keep it as fairly real as, or as fairly close to what we were doing, sort of in real life. I tell you what, having a tractor with GPS, these tram lines are absolutely bloody mint. Honestly, like, I've done a really fantastic job, even though I do say so myself, and even though I did have GPS doing it, to keeping me straight, but still fantastic. Yeah, so that was kind of what I did, and brought it home, and we ended up buying it because it was really simple to use. So, as I say, this is the combination. So I thought we'd try this out, and if it worked well, if the sprayer worked well, there's no errors in it as far as I can tell. We'll get rid of the one that we've got and move over to this one. I actually also don't mind it being slightly wider than the tram lines that we've drilled, because it means we're not missing. Because sometimes if you drill it exact, sometimes because you don't always drive your tractor in exactly the right mark, and the GPS, I don't know why or how it works like this, but sometimes the tram lines are just not quite far enough over, and so you'll end up missing either on the headland or missing a really tiny thin strip between each breed. So the fact that this is like 2 meters, 2 meters overhanging, then I think it's 2 meters. I don't know. Without a calculator, I wouldn't know, and I haven't got a calculator to hand. Yeah, so as I say, that's the thing that we're going to do. We're going to get this field sprayed. This is the last one we're going to do, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to or drive over to the pig farm, and probably take one of the David Browns or something. We'll drive over to the pig farm, and then we will get on with starting to excavate that that ground that we're going to put the abattoir on, and we'll get that going. What I'll do is I'll do that under time lapse, and then that'll be the end of the video. And then in the next episode, which will be tomorrow, in the next episode, we will then have we'll get, as I say, some of that excavating done. But we've also got a field so in the last episode, you'll remember that we started ploughing the field where a spring crop's going, either sugar beet or sweet corn, or or corn, or whatever, for pig feed. So we need to get that ploughed. Once we get that ploughed, obviously that will overwinter, because what I don't want to do is that's going to take a long time to excavate that area with the excavator, and quite a lot of it I'll do off camera. Quite a lot of it I will be doing off camera. So and so I sort of need to explain as well. If I was to load directly from the digger into trailers, we would have that much material that we would become very rich very, 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 very quickly. After a couple of trailers, we would be getting near towards the millions of pounds, right? So the way that I've kind of figured out, so I've had to do this sort of as testing to try and find a solution to this problem, and I found two solutions, and one doesn't work without the other one. So the ground will give me stones. Now I could put the stones into a stone crusher and make lime. That's going to make me an absolute crap load of money really, really quickly. So what I've decided to do is, because I've learned through, as I say, testing, is that I'm going to get the stones whatever. That bit is sort of, is not changing under any scenario. But what I've found is that if you use the excavator and then tip empty the bucket on the ground, when you then go back and pick those stones up, you get half of what the bucket was. I don't know why that works out like that, whether it's because it's kind of sort of saying you can't scrape every single stone up, so you could only get the majority of the pile of but the what's on the floor would sort of kind of almost remain on the floor, because unless you actually dug underneath it and took loads of soil with it, you couldn't actually get all of it up. And I quite like that, and I like that for two reasons. A, it means we'll get half as much money, but B, we obviously won't get nowhere near the stone, which obviously, as I just said, what means we won't get nowhere near the money. We can then load the stones with the forklift onto trailers, and then we can ferry the trailers down to the train yard, where we can load them onto the train, and then we can send them off to be sold. And the stones themselves are they're literally worth pounds for 1,000 litres. So we're not going to make that much out of it. We will still make money out of it, but if you kind of think of, I'm currently watching on YouTube PX Farms, and they're sort of building a massive extension to their farm, and they're sort of laying new concrete drives, and and they've got screeners there that are separating all of the soil, all of the rock material, and they're separating it out, and all of the stuff that is separating out, the soil they're tipping back on their fields. They're actually going to empty them on. They're going to spread them back on the fields. But for all the sort of rocks and rubble and hardware and stuff like that that comes off the field, they're actually selling that. So it's not unrealistic for us to make a little bit of money out of it, because as he said, the actual sort of buildings that he's putting up is going to cost, I think it's like £3 million worth of expansions they're having done. In the same way that our building that we're going to put up is going to be like 800,000 or whatever. If we can make a little bit of money back from what we're digging out, then I think that's not unrealistic, and that's sort of fine to do. So that's the reason why I'm kind of going to do it the way that I'm going to do it, is because if I don't, in my testing, I was able to do a day's digging, and I was able at the end at midnight, when the stone crusher sold the line, I got nearly in one day's digging. I think I got about 890,000, and I dug that that area, and in total, I ended up with 15,400,000 and some odd thousands. It was like, wow. Now that's why people put buildings up. Because they earn double what the bloody expansion cost them to do in the first place. So and also as well, we've got the hire of the digger, so we've hired the digger from a company, and so each day we're going to be paying the hire of the digger as well. So I have tried to make it so that we don't get stupidly rich from from doing this, because you just wouldn't in real life, but you would make a little bit of money out of it. But anyway, what we'll do is, so the tractor and the plough is just there. As I say, we've got some more ploughing to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do today's episode will be, I'm about to do some time lapse, and then we will do the digging, and then in tomorrow's episode we will do a little bit more digging at the beginning, but then we will go off ploughing, for sort of the rest of the episode, because that does need doing as well, and that needs being done before really the frosts and stuff and the snow of winter comes in. So yeah, we need to get that done as well. And as I say, and as you can probably tell, actually, I'm suffering again from another sore throat. So it's normal for me to continually have sort of sore throats and that. But yeah, so fine otherwise. It's just sort of hurts when I talk. But so we'll go over to some time lapse, and we will, as I say, get some excavating done. So I'll see you in a minute.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world but keep the sky on your mind.
So we're back. So as as you've seen, I'm not the world's greatest excavator driver, which is unfortunate because we've got quite a bit to do. But I'll get on with it, and as I say, we'll get somewhere with it. I'm sure we will. But I mean, it is one of those sort of laborious jobs where, you know, it's gonna take a long time to do. This is a big area of ground that needs to be dug out and leveled and everything else. But what we'll do is next episode when we come back, as I say, we'll do little bits and pieces, sort of on camera, or I might just give you like updates or something, of the work that's been going on. You're not going to have endless episodes of this because I don't think I would sit through it. So in terms of watching someone on YouTube do it, so I don't expect you guys to do it either. But I will keep you fully updated with everything that's going on. And as I say, there might be a little bit sort of every now and again. We might sort of delve in and do a couple of minutes of digging, which for me will be like an hour, but for you will be, as I say, a couple of minutes. I don't know why I can't tilt the bucket, so the bucket is locked in that position. For I've tried to assign keys to it. I've tried to assign my my Cytec control panel to be able to control the tilt of the bucket, and nothing works. I can't assign nothing to it, so unfortunately the bucket is sort of kind of locked in that position, which on its own is kind of okay, but the second it gets a little bit too high, it just self-empties. Now I would expect a little bit of spillage from it, of course, but yeah, it's a bit of an issue because as I say, it's kind of like I get a nice full bucket and then it just empties it everywhere, and so it's not going to look too pretty. But like I say, by the time we get it all finished and all, you know, kind of looking as it should hopefully look, and all this ground level, it will, you know, it will look great. But at the moment it's just not that fantastic because, as I say, I'm not that good at driving this excavator. It's easy for me to say. And you know, that sort of then doesn't lend to being an aesthetically beautiful video of this you know, poetry in motion of this excavator going around and taking out the earth and digging it. But as I say, once we get it kind of finished and completed, so what I've kind of decided to do, I don't know whether I've shared this on camera or not, but, and this is the reason why I haven't cut the grass as well beforehand. So there's a line here, and that keeps us well away from the trees and the fence. So we're going to use the line here as a border. It's the same at the back. So there's another sort, you know, there's a border, you know, that as you can tell from the grass to here. So again, we won't be breaching this line here. And then down this side, if I've kind of gonna, you know, hopefully I can do it right. So from here, it's going to be level from the to the hedge across here, and then all of this is going to be where all the this is where all the solar and wind turbine panels are going. So and that will power the butchery that's going to obviously either go the way I'm looking now, from one end here to the other end here, or across that way, in which case would then mean that I would be able to get more solar panels in. So I'm not too sure at the moment which way to go on that, because we can run it from that shed all the way to, you know, up there, and that gap is big enough, I think. So we'll you know, we'll have a look. But and the other thing to note as well is that all this scrap and all these canisters and stuff like this, I have got a scrap merchant come in. The rubble's going to go through the screener when we get it. I mean, it hasn't helped as well, probably looking that great, because it is quite dark, this area. But I mean, you know, from where we started, you know, the time lapse from, you know, we're not doing too bad. But like I say, it will be dead level by the time I've finished. But it's just about kind of clearing the way, and then, I mean, normally what you would do is you would have the excavator up here, and he would just sort of, you know, turn and take it away as we're going, sort of thing. But I can't do that, because the way that this is working is that the digger needs to be on the actual level that you want the finish to be. So it has to be on the, you know, and if I had it up there, it would raise all the other ground to level with that. So I have to have it down here and then sort of come and scrape it out that way, you know, so that it actually makes it level with this ground here, you know, so that there's no ridge or anything. But yeah, so as I say, excuse me, as I say, it's been okay, but not the best looking. And this is what I mean about, you know, we would be rich very, very quickly. I mean, you know, I've probably sat about an hour and a half doing that. I mean, in time lapse terms, it's like a couple of minutes, but you know, and that's how much we've got. And as I say, the other day, at the weekend, on I think last Saturday, I had sort of the whole day free, and I was having a kind of sort of bad symptom day, so I just kind of sat, you know, I just sat at my computer, and I did this all day. And honestly, Like as I say, within a very short space of time, I was a multi-millionaire, and I'm keen that doesn't happen here. But as I say, we have gone quite a way in. I mean, it's surprising how far you do get in and how quickly you sort of do make a bit of progress. I know we've not sort of done all of the side here, but we'll get all of that and we'll level it all off, and we'll get it so that it does look something. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave this episode here. So thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, it's something a little bit different, and that's what I try to bring on the channel if I can, something a bit different. But yeah, so I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you haven't done already, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel. It really does help me. And if you like what you've seen, why not give it a thumbs up? Share the videos wherever you want to share them. Share the channel wherever you want to share it. And all that's left for me to say is thanks ever so much for watching this episode. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.